Hello, everybody. Stephen Meade here with Domicile Real Estate, where we are on a mission to help California's renters become homeowners. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is our Southern California housing market update for first-time home buyers, and I can't believe it. It is February 4th, 2022. And I want to bring up something. We had someone ask kind of a cool question in the comments, and I know most of you probably don't go back and look at the comments after we respond to things. So I thought I would announce here. This person said, is it a good time for me to buy a house? And or is it a good time to buy a house in general? I don't think they said for me, but really that's usually implied. And my answer is this. It's not really so much, is it a good time in general to buy a house, but is it a good time for you to buy a house? And I know that sounds like an incredibly wishy-washy, not exactly 100% transparent realtor answer. So I'm going to make it specific, and I'm going to give you some reasons why. There are market factors, absolutely, on the upside, the downside, that affect, is it a good time to buy a house in general? And I'm going to tell you some reasons why, some things that might not make it a good time, right, to buy a house. Number one is it is not easy right now to buy a house. And I think you have to treat it like a serious endeavor. So if your thought is, I'm just going to casually look and maybe go out and write an offer or two, and hopefully we'll get a house. It's possible, but really the odds are not in your favor if that's your style looking to buy a house right now. Just not really a good move, I don't think. But the second thing too is consider this. Consider if you worked for a company that has not decided on their work from home policy yet. Out here in Southern California, that might make a huge difference on what you are buying. And my suggestion to you would be wait until that is solidified. Even if rates go up, even if a lot of these negative things might happen in the meantime by waiting, that's such a big deal in your decision-making process on where and what to buy. Absolutely, it's not a good time for you to buy a house. Now, I say this as an experienced realtor, but understand something. In these videos, I'm an experienced realtor, but I'm not necessarily your experienced realtor. So, this advice is general. If you want something more specific, there's definitely some ways to reach out to us. If you're watching on YouTube, scroll down there to the description. We've got some links. You can set up a time to chat. You can go to our website also. So let's get started into the stats. I think we've got a little bit of good news and some anecdotal news that's not so good. So I'm going to jump in here, go through this, and kind of tell you, kind of pepper in sort of what we're seeing out in the real world at the same time as this. So, all right, here's the first thing is closed prices. And again, just a little bit of a reminder, folks, these are prices that were negotiated 4 to 6 weeks ago on average. And so I think it's interesting, though, to note that our entry-level single-family home went down, whereas our entry-level condo went up. I've been talking for a while that I think there was going to be some conversion, in these price ranges. I think these are going to get closer together. I think there's going to be some convergence, and you're going to see condos really elevate. I think that's a trend we've been seeing for a while. And in fact, if you look at the slope, the last year, the condo market has done better. If you go back and watch our end of year summary, you can see that too, that the condo market has actually done better than the entry-level single-family home market in terms of pricing. I think you're going to continue to see that. If we look at what does this mean in real dollar amounts on our entry-level single-family home, it's just under $4,200 a month. As a reminder, that's 5% down. It includes mortgage insurance, property taxes, homeowners insurance estimates, and even HOA fee in the case of condos. That number went down to just below 4,200, and this condo number has gone up to 3,457. Again, we're seeing a convergence, among those prices, especially when you think of it as a percentage difference. Now, just for fun, minimum household income, this really shows you how these situations aren't that far apart. $102,000 for our entry-level single-family home and $85,000 about there for our entry-level single-family condo. These are not wide income disparities in household income in order to qualify for these entry-level homes. Now, I want to talk a little bit about sort of the market and what I think is going on. And there's a couple reasons why we use a few different stats for this, right? And I'm going to go off screen share here for a second. These statistics that we publish are our whole market, meaning they're across LA and Orange County in a specified segment. But you have to understand that there are a lot of sort of ways to slice and dice this data that, especially right now, could make a very big difference in what experience you have as a buyer. So the first thing to talk about, right, is area, right? Like that's a given. You know, certain areas might be relatively a lot hotter than others. I think what really is driving that right now is how much inventory is there in your specific area, right? If you've got more inventory, it's not nearly as competitive. If you've got no inventory, it is incredibly competitive. So that's kind of the obvious one. But something else I want to talk about, and I've hinted at this before, and I think it's really important to take a look at this. A big deal is in the relative desirability of properties. So if you give me any area and market segment, if you said, I want to look at, I don't know, single family homes between 900 and $1 million in the West San Fernando Valley, right? That's a good example of something. You will find that a large portion of those homes go under contract within 7 days, but there are a few that sit on the market. So if you are the kind of person who is always looking at the houses that gets tons of attention, you're going to experience a much more competitive market, maybe than somebody who says, you know, I'm interested in redoing an entire house. I'm more interested in the things I can't change. So I'm willing to kind of look a little bit at everything. I'm willing to have an open mind. I want to kind of look and see what's out there. That buyer may have a very different experience looking in the same price range in the same area as the buyer who says, this one looks like it was just in Dwell or Atomic Ranch magazine and we have to go see it this weekend. That buyer might experience 30 offers on every single listing, whereas the other buyer, you know, might only experience 3 or 4 offers per listing or none at all. They might be the only buyer, you know, a listing, especially if it's a contractor. Somebody's willing to take a house that's you know, what we call affectionately in this business, scratch and dent. So understand that when we show these statistics, these are kind of a whole market aggregation, not necessarily what you might experience. And there's some things you can do that might change what that experience is. So as you can see, we're in the high 80s. I don't really know any other way to say it's not overall a highly competitive market. It absolutely is. If you look at our total inventory, this is actually a tiny bit of good news. You see a little bit of an uptick here in both of our categories, our entry level condos and our entry level single family homes, and that's actually a little bit unusual. If you look last year, we were done. There was no inventory growth right around this time period last year. This was either flat or falling. So to see that little bit of growth, I mean, I'm going to latch onto the positives here, right? This is good news if you are a buyer in the marketplace to see that total inventory number going up a little bit. And we have another little bit of good news, right? This is another measurement of competitiveness. And, you know, this is talking about what houses are still left that went on the market in the last 14 days. You know, that percentage is a little higher as well. And that means a less competitive market here. Is it great? No, it's still lower than it was in the middle of last year, but it's better. And I'm willing to take the good news when I can get it. Here's a little piece that is not necessarily super great news, and that is our weak supply of homes. So if you're looking in that entry-level single-family home, I mean, we have about 2.5 weeks of inventory, 2.62 weeks of inventory. That is pretty low. In fact, that's pretty comparable to where we were last year. In fact, that's slightly worse. 2.72 is where we were last week, but I'll call that about the same. But if you look in our condo market, that's really where the story is. Now that's rising slightly, but at 3.5 weeks, I mean, that's well below where we were at this point last year. We were over 5 weeks of inventory. So if you're somebody in the condo market, I think that's where you're going to see just a huge difference from the market last year. I know this update's a little bit faster than usual. I wanted to kind of go over some of these extra little things. Again, this is general advice. We are excellent realtors here. I am an excellent realtor, but I'm not your excellent realtor, at least not yet. So if you'd like a 15-minute, no cost, no obligation consultation, you can schedule that by clicking the link in the description. We can get that set up for you. Do not forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. It is sunny. It is in the low 70s out there. It is really going to be a beautiful weekend here in Southern California. Think how nice would it be enjoying that beautiful weekend on your own patio or balcony. If you'd like to have that happen, we can certainly arrange that for you and help you do that. I'm trying to think, is there anything else? Oh yeah, definitely take a look at our real estate app. If you've used a certain app that begins with a Z and you noticed you were suddenly getting ads for things like moving companies and you wondered, that's funny. That is because your data is essentially being sold out the back end. Our app does not do that, and it's super easy to use. And then you can also ask us direct questions about properties, which is pretty cool, just within the app. So definitely check that out. There's a link in the description, and we will see you again real soon.